Hey, this is Joe Conte, and you're listening to Jim and Mike Talk Music.
But having a family member as a cop is awesome because you get that shield. Did we hear people have PBA cards, right? Yeah, PBA cards. Ooh, I spit at PBA cards. I got the shield. It's made of tin. It's got my name on it, bearer, family member. So I get away with murder. 100 miles an hour. It's weird, man. Because I'll get pulled over and a cop will be like, yeah, license, registration, insurance. Where you going, pal? I'm like, here you go. He goes, have a good day. That's what it's like. But even though I have that shield and I have that carte blanche, I still get nervous when a cop gets behind me. It's the weirdest thing. Because when you drive, you look forward. Not when a cop gets behind you. You stare at the rearview mirror for 10 minutes at a time. Right? You just be driving and you're just like, oh, everything's cool, we're just hanging out. And you're like, oh, cop behind me. It's cool. I didn't do nothing wrong. Guy's still behind me. 10 and 2. I don't even know what's in front of me right now. Either pull me over or just leave me alone. Oh, seatbelt on, 10 and 2. I got my license, I'm good. Your mind goes and you turn into just a regular guy into America's Most Wanted. Because you're just like, all right, I'm good. I got my insurance card, registration, I'm all good. Why is he still behind me? You know, I did coke in 1989. You think that shit's still in my system? And then what happens? You get pulled over, and then they have the lights that have to warn you to pull over, and they don't turn them off. So you got these big, huge lights attracting everybody's attention. And I don't care if you get pulled over in your neighborhood or in Montana. People you don't want to see happen to be driving by at that moment in time. I'm pulled over and I'm just like, oh man. And then here comes my ex-girlfriend with her better-looking boyfriend in a convertible. I'm like, oh. Here comes my guidance counselor. I knew that kid was going to be a piece of shit. I knew it. And then I see Miss Terrell, and she's like, you should have been a police officer.
Today we have a special guest. He's a comedian, a podcaster, honeymooners nut, and recovering Beatles addict. And I'm told he's a funny guy. So let's all welcome to Jim and Mike Talk Music, Mr. Joe Fenster. Oh, hold on. Joe Conte. Oh, I have
Hello.
Here. Oh, wait, you get the applause. Oh, there we go.
Yay.
They love you, Joe.
Yay.
So Joe and I have known each other, I'd say a couple years, at least.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Through the honeymooners, and it's not
Correct.
a travel agency we run. It's the TV
yeah,
show.
really. Yeah, it's not a recent couple who just got married either.
I have to drink for this. Okay, I might have to drink for this interview.
Oh, what do you got?
I usually don't drink this early. It's a Workhorse New England IPA.
Is it a beer?
Yeah, it's a beer.
IPA? I don't know much about the IPAs, and I'm not a big beer drink. My wife likes beer. It's never been my thing.
What do you drink? You drink anything?
I'm not a big drinker, but a couple of years ago, my wife brought home cherry vodka, and then I mixed that with like Diet Dr. Pepper, cherry Dr. Pepper, and the first 8 years up until that point, I think my wife saw me drunk 3 times, and it's been a lot since then. I drank wine coolers in high school. I was that guy. You know what I mean?
Zima.
Because I just never liked beer. Yeah, I just never really cared for beer.
The new wine cooler is that hard seltzer. It's not good. I drink seltzer, but
no, it tastes too much like seltzer, and I hate seltzer. I never understood seltzer.
So since this is mainly we talk about music, we're going to start with talking about music.
Correct.
What were some of the first bands or musicians that you listened to? Like when you were a kid or?
Yeah, I grew up, Well, actually, the first album I ever bought was Foreigner 4.
Okay. That's a
like
good one.
11 or 12 years old. That was my first record I ever bought. And to records when, my parents had music, like in the 70s when I was a little kid. But my first record was Foreigner 4. And then I went to buy Blizzard of Oz by Ozzy because I heard Crazy Train.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find it. So I bought Diary of a Madman instead. And that's where I started my love for, hard rock and heavy metal.
Okay.
And then I got into his name in high school was Joe Dio because I was a big Ronnie James Dio fan, and I had the long hair, and I would do like the horns and that kind of stuff. It was the 80s. That's what you did. And then it just progressed there. I got into harder and harder stuff, and then in the 80s I started DJing. I started spinning club music.
Really?
Yeah. Yes, it was a weird time. I did it for like 4 years. I did like club music. I did parties. I made mixtapes. I had long hair. I was a heavy metal kid, but I was spinning club music. It was definitely a strange time for me.
That's what I always wanted to be, but I never pursued DJ.
What, a DJ?
Yeah. Now you have Sirius Radio. I guess you still have sort of DJs, but they're not really spinning vinyl.
When I was 10 years old, before I even got into, like my own music, me and my best friend at the time, we lived across the street from each other. We used to do a pretend radio show.
Okay.
We used to record it on like a cassette, and we would play bits. We made up song parodies.
Yeah.
And we called the station WIOU. It was the corniest thing ever.
I did that
because I always wanted to do radio.
Yeah, I did something with my nephew. I was like 15. It was called the Rick Hour.
Okay,
not the Jim and Rick Hour, but Robin.
No, because you have 11 names. No, I know it's weird.
Yeah,
like you work for the FBI. I mean, it's I don't know who I'm talking to sometimes.
But that was so long ago. We would record on 8 tracks. And
oh wow, okay, we recorded on cassettes.
Yeah,
this was like 1981, 1982 around there.
But we would play the songs, and we would talk through the songs, or we would make fun of the songs. We would also call people. We would call people prank calls. And I don't have any of the 8 tracks, but my friend somehow, I must have given him copies, but he gave me a cassette of our phone calls. So that's all I have. We're talking 1979, 80.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we called it.
Did you ever play them or put them out somewhere on YouTube or anything like that?
No, I got to transfer them, and maybe. I mean, this was before the Jerky
That would
Boys.
be interesting. Yeah. I mean, listen, the original guys for the, the 2-bar tapes, those guys, the guys they used to call Red down at Jersey City. That was like the early 70s. But I'd be interested in seeing what a couple of kids doing prank. I mean, because we all did prank calls.
Yeah.
But nobody recorded them.
We called this pizza place, and, McDonald's had the Muppet glasses at the time.
Okay.
So we would call to place an order and ask if they had the Miss Piggy glass, on the motorcycle. And the guy was playing along with us. I mean, it wasn't...
You think he knew?
Yeah, I think he knew. He was just going along with it.
Yeah, groundbreaking, the greatest prank calls of all time.
And then we would call as the radio station. We'd say we're calling from the radio station, and if you can answer this one question, you'll win 10 albums. Or a case of Pepsi or something, which, we never sent to them, but
of course, what are you going to do? Ship it UPS in 1980?
Yeah. But we called this one guy. He was my district manager for the newspaper. And I feel bad still to this day. He wanted the 10 albums, and he's trying to come up with 10 albums. And I haven't listened to those in a long time.
All right. Kiss Alive. That counts for 1, but it's double album.
REO Speedwagon. You can tune a piano.
Yeah, High Infidelity.
Yeah. So last year, I think to get away from your wife, you went down in your basement and started listening to Beatles albums, during the lockdown.
No, it was actually it was no, it was right before it was December of 2019.
Oh,
Because
really?
of my part-time job that I work in the morning. I drive a truck, and I saw the movie yesterday.
Yeah.
In
Great
September
film.
2019, and I thought it was a great movie. It was fun, and then I saw it again on a flight in October. We were on a plane, and I'm very nervous about flying, so it happened to be on. So I watched it again, and I was never a Beatles fan, never. Like
Okay.
I'm a realistic person. I know that they were great, but I didn't really care about them. I didn't care.
Yeah.
But one day I was in my work truck, and we're very busy. It's Christmas time. You could probably figure out what type of a job I had in that regard. And I just remember I had my Bluetooth with my my phone, and all of a sudden I just said, you know what? I'm going to give the Beatles a chance. And I went on Amazon, and I took their first album, and I played the first album, and then did the second and the third, and all the way until Let It Be.
Okay.
And then I kept listening, and I would listen again, and then I would listen again, and I would listen again. And 8 months later, because after 8 months, I had to stop using Amazon because my wife started using the Amazon. So I went on, but I estimated from December to like August, right? I listened to each album, from Rubber Soul to Let It Be, probably 250 times.
Wow.
In 9 months. And the first 4 or 5 albums I probably listened to like 150 times because I wasn't into the early stuff as much. And then in August of 2020 is when I started listening to the Beatles channel on Sirius XM. I always had Sirius on my phone, and I would just listen to Breakfast with the Beatles every day. And that's when I started hearing other stuff. And in 2 years now, I've listened to a lifetime worth of Beatles. I still listen to them nearly every day. If it was a drug, I would have overdosed and died. If it was alcohol, I would have destroyed my liver. And if it was food, I would be 600 pounds. Like, that's how much I have listened to them. And I've seen now a couple of Beatle tribute bands. Like, I'm just, it's funny. I'm a 52-year-old man. It took me till I was 50 to become a giant, obsessed Beatles fan.
That's why I said you're a Beatles.
Even my wife,
you're recovering Beatles, but you're not recovering. I didn't know you weren't recovering.
No, I'm a late bloomer. I waited till I was 50 to become an insane Beatles fan. And in fact, me and my friend, who's been a Beatles fan since he was a kid, we want to start doing a podcast. We already made an intro for it called the No Besides Podcast, all about the Beatles, but in a humorous way. Like, we're not going to talk about chord progressions and stuff, but right now he's dealing with cancer. So he's been, getting treatments and stuff, and he's doing pretty good. But once he gets out of the woods where he really starts to feel good, hopefully we could start doing that on occasion. And so I'm just a massive Beatles fan. And it took me 50 years.
Because I know in March of 2020, that's when you started on Facebook with posting about your Beatles song.
I was doing the Beatles song of the day. I figured everybody's, it was locked down, and so I did that for a couple of months. I did like 50 or 60 songs.
Yeah, you did that till June.
I don't. Yeah, it was. You know what? When the George Floyd thing happened, I don't know. It just kind of was like, it just kind of put me in a place where I was like, I don't even want to do this anymore. All of a sudden, the whole country kind of went crazy, and which I should have done it more, but it just kind of made me say, you know what, I'm just, do whatever. And
well, once you put it out there that you're going to do a song of the day, it's like, and then once you're like, oh, I got to post, you're posting every day.
Yeah.
And it's like,
all of a sudden I'm like, this is work. I didn't do this to do work.
Because you went into detail on a lot of those. I like those though. I've always liked the Beatles.
It was fun.
I haven't listened to the Beatles as much as, the albums I've probably heard maybe 10 times, but I mean, that's amazing. You listen to them that much.
Oh, it was just, And especially because a lot of the albums, they're not that long, you know?
Oh yeah.
Even Abbey
30
Road
minutes.
is probably they're quick.
Yeah.
So I would go through all 12 albums, and like by noon. And then I'd be like, well, okay, you know what? All right, I'll listen to Hard Day's Night one more time today. And then it'd be like, all right, now it's 4:00. I got an hour before my wife gets home. I'll listen to Rubber Soul one more time. Like it was madness, dude. And I still listen to him nearly every day. And in 2 years, probably 85% of the music that I've listened to in the last 2 years has been the Beatles.
Okay.
And up until 4 months ago, it was close to 95%. It was just, that's all I listened to. I listened to that, and I would listen to podcasts and stuff like that. But that was it.
Do you get into
really
any of the solo albums, like McCartney or Lennon?
Well, I would hear a lot of their songs on the channel.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what was cool. I got to hear so many of the solo stuff that I didn't know, along with so many Beatles songs that I didn't know to begin with. Most of my favorite Beatles songs are songs I'd never heard of before.
Okay.
So it's like, it's weird. But yeah, some of the solo stuff, and even I like Ringo's stuff, dude. It's fun, and McCartney, he's probably the most prolific, but Harrison had some great stuff, and John Lennon really had some heavy stuff, like heavy as in like trippy heavy, real like stuff that really meant something to him. It's just it's been life jarring, dude. Life jarring for me. I want to learn how to play guitar. Like I never thought. And
I was going to ask you that.
Want to
have you ever picked up an instrument? Have you ever tried to play? Were you in high school?
I played the piano when I was a kid.
Okay.
And when I was a kid, like 10 years old, my parents got me piano lessons. I did that for like 6 months, and then my piano teacher quit on me because it was too far of a travel for him, and he wasn't, doing like $10 a lesson. And it wasn't worth. And then I started playing in elementary school. I wanted to play the trumpet, and because we were poor and I had no money, I couldn't buy a trumpet. So they let me borrow the baritone, and I got to play the baritone, which is like the mini tuba. And I played that until my freshman year, and I was terrible. And that's it. That's the and I wasn't good at the piano. I wasn't good on the baritone, and I would like to learn how to play guitar, but it scares the hell out of me. It looks so unbelievably hard. Like people tell me doing stand-up is hard, but playing the guitar looks so unbelievably hard. But I would like to just try it, just for me. Well, I know I'm not going to be a rock star.
If you go on YouTube, I even go on YouTube to learn some songs, and I can't. I've been playing guitar since I was 15, but I still know I only still know like 8 chords, but I'm learning more. It's just once you know the basic chords, then you can start experimenting, and
Well, that's the thing. But here's my dilemma. Here's my dilemma with the guitar. Okay. It's funny and it's idiotic, but it's true. I, even though I don't play guitar, but I play guitar lefty. Okay. So it's comfortable for me. So now I'm trying to find like a lefty acoustic guitar without spending a ton of money, because I don't even know. I might try it for 2 weeks and be like, yeah, I can't do this. It's too hard. So for about a year now, I've been saying I want to play guitar, and it's getting closer, because I got a couple of friends who are musicians, and they're looking out for me to get like, and you know what's funny? I got people who play, hey, idiot, just get the regular guitar and just play it the regular way, because you don't know how to play it.
And I'm like, upside down.
Why do you? Well, that's some guys say just play it upside down, but they say it's a little bit different. I know what I'm going to tell people. I go, well, why don't you play it the other way then? Well, I'm comfortable like that. Well, I'm comfortable this way. It's like, I don't know how to play guitar, but I air guitar this way. It feels comfortable. And so,
that is kind of, you're right-handed and play, you want to play the guitar left-handed.
Well, I'm half and half. Like I
Okay.
throw righty,
Mhm.
I play guitar lefty, I kick lefty, and I
Mhm.
dribble a basketball lefty.
Wow.
So I
Okay.
do about half the things lefty and the other half
Mhm.
righty. I throw righty also. But yeah, so
My problem is I don't have long fingers. And I always think with people with bigger hands, longer fingers, they can play a little better.
okay.
I don't know.
Cool. I don't think I have very big. I
Yeah.
have like,
Mine.
yeah, I don't know.
Let's talk about comedy. In school, were you one of those class clowns, or did comedy come later for you?
Yeah, I wasn't. I don't think. I don't remember being the funny kid in school. I
Mhm.
have some friends of mine that when I saw that they hung out in school, and I saw them years later, and they go, "No, dude, you were funny." And I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't remember being funny. I wasn't known as the funny kid.
Okay.
Um, I think that, I think I started to develop my humor when I got out of high school.
Mhm.
And listen, my mom was funny, my dad's goofy, for being old Italians, they had a funny humor in a weird way. So I picked up on that. My sister's very funny. My brother, who's a cop, and he's always like serious. You think he's serious. My brother's got a good sense of humor too. So it's
Mhm.
definitely runs in the family type of thing.
Now, did you start out like open mic night? Like how did you?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. What happened was, I'll try to make it a long story short. I was best man at my one of my friends, and so I did a speech,
Mhm.
and in front of like 150 people, got a couple
Okay.
of drinks in me, and I did this speech, and it was funny and
Mhm.
heartfelt, and I was like, oh wow, because I always said I wanted to do comedy, and now
Mhm.
and I was like, oh my god, I just performed in front of people. I
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. So I went to a party that night because my friend was a cheapskate and he had a wedding during the day. So we went to like this party that night, and I saw a friend of mine who was like more friends with my brother, and he told me he's been doing stand up for like 3 weeks,
Mhm.
and he never seemed like that funny person. I
Uh-huh.
guess I was still flying high on my speech, and I said
Mhm.
in my head, I'm like, if this friggin' guy can do it, I should be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
he ended up being really funny, and we did stand up together for a while. But so I got his number. I said, dude, next time you go, let me know. I want to with you. And then like
Mhm.
2 weeks later, he saw me and he said, dude, we're going to go to the Stress Factory
Oh
on
yeah.
Wednesday night,
In New
do an
Brunswick.
open mic. Yep, in New Brunswick. So I went
Mhm.
down. I was frightened out of my mind. And when they called me up there were people that I knew in the audience. They were there to see my friend. And since we all
Mhm.
grew up together, and I remember seeing a girl that I knew right in the front who I always knew and liked, and she was always cool, and she always thought I was funny. So I
Mhm.
just focused on her for the 5 minutes that I was up there
Yeah. Yeah.
and did a couple of jokes and probably did I got a couple of laughs, but obviously it was probably terrible stuff, but for my
Mhm.
first time, and I was like, wow, like what a high. Like it
Oh
was
yeah.
so amazing.
Yeah. To
So
get
then I just I went back again
Mhm.
and then just kept doing it.
just to get the audience's reaction and.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. You're scared, and it's like your first time having sex. You're scared out of
Mhm.
your mind, but it feels really good. And that's kind of how it was that first time. It
Mhm.
was scary as hell, but I just kind of said I could get used to doing this.
Yeah.
And that was 20 years ago.
Mhm. Now, when you come up with new jokes, do you try them out on an audience, or do you try them out on your wife? I mean, that's a hard
Yeah,
audience. I
a
would
lot of
think,
times I'll try them out with like I'll like try a joke or a premise out of my wife or some of my friends, even comic
Mhm.
friends.
Okay.
And then usually they might say, "Yeah, that's a good bit, good one."
Mhm.
You work on it, and then even if they say no, if I'm stubborn enough, I'm like, I'm friggin' trying it anyway. And then I'll try to work it out and do it a couple of times on stage, and then see if it gets
Mhm.
any traction. Usually just depends on how I feel doing it. And then you just keep doing it, you know, and then eventually it ends up being like a decent bit.
Living in Jersey is cool, but as I'm traveling around the country, I'm realizing that we have a reputation. Nobody likes us. And this isn't Jersey Shore, Jerseylicious. This is way before that. They hate us. Do you know this? That there was a poll done. My friend told me this. There was a poll done that said America is the most hated country in the world. And we can agree with that. We're fine with that. We're okay with that. But there was another poll done that said New Jersey is the most hated state in America. So by association, we're the most hated people on the planet. And we don't give a shit. This is my point, people. I just told you that everybody hates you, and you're like, yeah! That's a bizarre way of thinking. And you know what our big problem is? You know what our reputation is? It's not all the Guido stuff. It's none of that. They say we're bad drivers. Is that weird? Like, I've been out to the Midwest, and they're like, yeah, Mr. Conte, I've been to Jersey. You from Jersey? Yes, sir. You people can't drive. I go, no, you people can't drive. See, you have to understand something. New Jersey is the fourth smallest state in the country. Fourth smallest state. But per square mile, we're the most densely populated state in the entire country. And there's nothing in South Jersey. Nothing. You know what's in South Jersey? Traffic circles and blueberries. That's it. I used to think it was just us, you know? But it's insane. It's like, we should be, I mean, realistically, we're bad drivers. We should be getting into car accidents like every 12 seconds. It should be, I'm sorry, Allstate, Geico. And the crazy, I mean, we're insane when we drive. Like, I mean, you can see, like you look like a very sweet woman. She's this little girl, little woman right here. And I could picture you driving in your SUV, standing on the floor because you can't see over the dash. And I mean, you look like such a sweet person, but I guarantee, don't cut her off. Because you can just picture, she has a beautiful smile. She's like, and somebody cuts her off, she's like, yo, mother, really, you cut me off? I got kids in the backseat. I was about to beat them. Now I'm gonna beat you. We're insane. Did you ever get cut off by somebody and then start to follow them until they pull into a police station? It's no good. But I thought it was just in New Jersey. In the Northeast, it's not. It's all over the country. We're insane.
So I would think that first show at Stress Factory might have been, maybe that was your worst show. Hopefully, over time.
No. My third show was my worst show ever.
Okay.
Because what happened was I did it the first time at the Stress Factory. I did like 5 minutes, got a couple of chuckles. Then I went back like a week later and started doing the same jokes, and I was bombing. Then I started making fun of myself that I was bombing. So I got a couple of laughs. Yeah. And then my next spot was at this bar, this place where they do comedy in Wallington, New Jersey called Pietro's. So it was going to be a Saturday night. So yeah, so I'm excited. This is like my first real show, right? And I get there early and I started drinking beer, right? I'm not a big beer drinker, right? Yeah. But I was like, I want to have a beer to loosen up a little bit. And long and short, I end up getting hammered out of my mind. And now they got me going last because I brought most of the people. So now I'm hammered and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. And they're like, well, you got to go up. Yeah. And I go up and proceed to bomb for 40 minutes.
Wow, that's a long time.
I don't have 40 minutes worth of material.
Yeah.
I was just bombing. I'm doing jokes that I thought were good, and I started pulling notes out, like shuffling papers, and I'm reading, and it was all people that knew me, and there's nothing. There's just silence. I'm just bombing, and at some point, I actually said something like, "Listen, I know you guys love me, but you got to say something." And one of my friend's uncles like, "You suck," and I was like, you didn't have to go that harsh.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a disaster. But, I started repeating jokes, but it was so bad. But then, listen, that was the last time I drank on stage.
Yeah.
I don't do any of that. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do any of that before I go on stage. I don't know how guys do it, but yeah. And then after that, I started doing more mics, and then you just, you start developing. It takes a while, but it's, I'm doing okay.
I love talking to you. For our listeners, the first time I talked to you on the phone, if you remember,
right?
We talked for 3 hours.
I think so.
Like cackling.
Yeah, it was
hens,
ridiculous.
Like yeah, it was. I don't even know what we
cackling hens. We talked for like 3 hours. My wife was like, "Who are you talking to?" I mean, it's a friend of mine. She doesn't know who you are. And now she's like, "So what is he, your girlfriend?" I'm like, you know what? You just be quiet.
No, you're a person that I feel like I've known all my life. It's easy to talk to you.
Yeah. It was like I started talking to you, and I'm like, "This guy's all right, man. I can sit there and yap." And we have a lot of the same type of kind of thoughts and beliefs and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I've always been. It's funny, when I was in high school, people used to always say I should be one of three things. They used to say I should be either a comedian, a bartender, or actually four things: a comedian, a bartender, a a psychiatrist, or a drug dealer. Those are the things they always said. They said drug dealer because I never did any drugs in high school, so they were like, "You would make a great drug dealer because you don't do any of the drugs, so you would make more money."
Yeah.
And psychiatrist, like I was that guy that all of my friends and girls that I was friends with would all come to me, talk to me about their problems, which doesn't get you laid in high school, just to let everybody know that doesn't get you laid in high school. Yeah, I was a good listener. That does not get you any sexual activity in high school, being a good listener. And so I guess we kind of connected and just said, "Oh, you know what? I like this guy." It was easy.
You recently opened for Vic DiBitetto. And if people don't know who Vic DiBitetto is, he's known or was known as the bread and milk guy because he posted
That's
a video.
How people would be like, "Oh yeah, the bread and milk guy."
Yeah, when it was the snow's coming, people go out and we've got to get bread and milk. We're gonna run out, and it went viral, as they say, as the kids say,
as the youngsters say.
Yeah, he was in I think Mall Cop, might have been 2.
Because he started out comedy in Long Island, and he knew Kevin James. They all started together. Yeah. And then after his video hit, Kevin James kind of called him and said, "You know what? I love your character. I like the character you do in your videos." And he said, "I would love for you to be this guy in my movie." Yeah,
he played one of his buddies in Paul, what's his name? Paul Blart
Mall Cop, I think it's called.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I think it was 2. It was the second one.
Yeah, there were like three other.
So Vic took off.
There were like 3 guys in that movie that were Paul's friends or something, if I recall correctly.
I think they were like Long Island comics.
Yeah. So that show, that was a couple weeks ago. You opened for Vic. Yeah,
I think it was November 13th, I think it was. I think it was a Saturday.
And where was that?
Yeah, it was at the Bergen Pack in Englewood, New Jersey.
That's a pretty decent sized place, right?
Oh yeah, dude. It's like 1,400 people or something. And it wasn't sold out, but I think they said it was over 1,000 people. which is the biggest crowd I'd ever been in front of before.
Did you get a good reaction at that show?
Yeah. It was, my wife was, I think, more nervous than I was. I was the only thing that I don't want to say nervous, but the only thing I had like trepidation on was about the time. Because in comedy, when if you're a feature or you're a headliner, it's always like, all right, you do a half hour, you do 45, and you can either have either the club will flash a light at a certain time, so like, all right, I got 2 minutes left, or the host will flash a light, or you just look at your watch. You got a little thing timed, and you're like, all right, cool, I got a couple of minutes left. Let me just tell you. Well, you can't. They had nothing.
Wow.
There's no clock. There's nothing, right? You have to time yourself. And I didn't want to be looking at my watch or nothing. So the guy who booked me said, do 25 minutes. So I set up, I wrote down all the bits I was going to do. And I was doing the bits in front of my dog in like the kitchen, like, reciting them. And I'm timing each bit, and then I'm adding all the times together. And it came, and I'm like, all right, I think I got it. It's going to be close. It'll be pretty close. And I know they want you to be, pretty close. And then we're backstage. I'm in the little green room thing. And my wife's like, all right, they gave her a ticket, so she was going to go and watch. And the girl comes up to bring me down there. And she's like, are you ready? I'm like, yeah, let's go. And you're going to do 20. And I'm like, 20? You told me 25. What happened? So now I'm panicking as I go down there, because I'm like, everything is now what am I going to take out? Like, oh my God, what bit am I going to take out? And all that. It ended up working out. It was great. Such a great reaction. And then another thing was that there was supposed to be like an introduction, a pre-recorded introduction for me. And then I get off stage, and then a pre-recorded introduction for Vic. Well, the introductions aren't working. So I have to walk out there and just walk out there like I was like I would. Well, yeah, like I was the like the janitor, and I happen to just end up on stage, and then I had to bring Vic up. So I walked on stage, and the moment I walked on stage, people started clapping because they knew, this guy's on stage. That means 20 minutes from now, we're going to see Vic. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like I had to, like attention, please, attention. They were ready to go. And
unfortunately they were there for Vic, but 1,000, like, even though you said it wasn't sold out, 1,000 people now know your name. And if you did
the key,
they're going to remember, hopefully, your name, look you up, find you.
That's the key. You know what I mean? Where, because I joke, I've been joking for a while. I'm like, you know how many shows I got to do to get in front of 1,000 people?
Oh, yeah.
It's a bunch.
Yeah.
And that was the most exciting thing. I know there's not, it's nice. And I'm hopefully that I could do more shows opening for Vic, because Vic does like me. He doesn't really have a say. He doesn't really care who opens for him. You know what I mean? He's got a few people that open for him, and he likes them. So whoever his manager books. But it's it was a lot of fun. And the coolest part was I did my set, right? I said, thank you. And then I brought up Vic, and they're nuts. It's like they're all there to see Vic. And as I'm walking off stage, Vic calls me back onto the stage. He goes, Joe, come here.
Nice.
And he goes, everybody, how great was he? Give it up one more time for Joe Conte, and that was really, really awesome of him, So they got to hear my name one more time from the guy that they really wanted to see. And it was fantastic.
It's like a political campaign, like the guy that's endorsing you. So here's Vic DiBitetto endorsing Joe Conte.
Endorsing Joe Conte. Yeah, exactly.
And like the Stress Factory in small clubs like that, you're probably playing in front of, if you're lucky, 50 people, right?
Well, the Stress Factory holds like 330.
Oh, okay.
But, if I'm open for like a big name, then of course you can get up in front of 300 people. But it was just so nice. It was a theater. It was my first time doing a theater that big.
Yeah.
I might have done one other show with in front of like 600 or 700 people, but it was like almost like a rock show. It was like kind of chaotic. It was fun, but chaotic. And it was like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
This was so much fun. And then the funny part about all of it is that was a Saturday night. Tuesday night, I'm doing a bar in Dunellen, New Jersey, where nobody gave a crap about any of us and what we were doing there. And we're all getting heckled. A 75-year-old black woman who like acted like she was hammered and on crack.
They're just there to drink, and
so bad. Yeah. And I was just like, I actually said it. I go, 36 hours ago, I was at the Bergen Pack in front of 1,000 people loving me. Now I'm here because I want to make you people love me too. There's something really wrong with us. And it was so funny. This woman was actually humorous. She was heckling everybody, but she was funny. And, so it ended up being hilarious, but it was awful. And I was like, yep, I was brought right back to earth 2 days later, and I'm back into just doing crappy ass shows. And but it was very fun. How quickly you can go from like awesomeness to like, what the hell am I doing here? You know what I mean?
Well, hopefully Vic has you back, or you get to open for bigger people.
Yeah, I'm open for Mitch Fattel on tomorrow, which is cool.
What's the name?
Down at Uncle Vinny's Comedy Club.
What's his name?
Mitch Fattel. Mitch Fattel. Yeah, he's a
want to get back
guy.
to this.
He's supposed to be pretty packed. And
I want to get back to the Stress Factory. My wife went with me. My wife's not a big comedy person. I don't know. It's sad. She'd rather watch, Alexander
like
Skarsgård. She loves Alexander Skarsgård, the actor. So she'd rather spend her time.
Who? Who is that?
He was in Tarzan. He was in True Blood, which was.
It sounds like a very expensive bourbon. Like I don't even Alexander Skarsgård, 100 proof. It goes great with Diet Coke. Like what the hell is that?
He's from Sweden.
Who is that?
Well, we went to Sweden like 3 years ago. I told my wife, I said, "Okay, you were like what stalker actually gets on a plane for 12 hours to find someone's apartment in Stockholm?"
That's a little bizarre.
Yeah, we found his apartment.
So he
wasn't there.
He's a Swedish actor.
Yeah, he's from I forget what district in Stockholm, but his whole family. Stellan is his father. He's in a ton of movies. He was in some Marvel movies. His
like American movies.
Yeah, and like I've probably seen every movie, with the subtitles and Norwegian movies. But you'll know that you might know.
Is that your wife's nationality?
She is part Swedish. Yeah, she found out. Yeah.
Oh, she found out. So she just
recently.
She didn't know why she was drawn to this,
and she wanted to go to Sweden. And we're going back next year. I like Stockholm. I mean, it was an experience, the ABBA Museum.
Yeah, I heard it's really nice. But to go all the way over there to stalk an actor, your wife.
We didn't really go over it there, but she worked that in somehow. But the town that he lives in, there's a dessert place there. I'm serious. They only sell desserts, and I keep thinking about the ice cream that the sundae I had. I mean, that's how incredible it was.
Right. Well, they have a place in Key West called Better Than Sex, and it's a restaurant just with desserts.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I don't know the name of this place.
It's unbelievable. If you're ever in Key West, you got to go to Better Than Sex. It's unbelievable. Like the desserts that they have. It's a restaurant, and it's a very, it's got a nice ambiance to it. Almost like a very dark with nice red lights and stuff like that, and it's ridiculous. So it might be that same type of thing where it's just sweets and desserts, almost like a restaurant.
So Alexander's he has like 3 brothers, right?
We're back on Alexander the Great now again.
Well, this would put you in more focus. The movie It, when they remade It with the clown,
right?
That's Alexander's brother. I forget his name now.
Oh,
My wife's gonna kill me. I forget his name, but so that's it. And then his other brother was in Vikings, which we watched, which actually I like.
that's a show, right?
Yeah, that was on the History Channel. It uses some parts of actual history, but it's a fictional show too. That was on for 6 or 7 seasons.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Okay.
Okay, let's get
I
off
think
the
I heard of it. I don't know. It sounds like the wife doesn't want to.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you who some of your favorite comedians are. With the exception of Bill Cosby, we're not going to talk about him.
Yeah.
Now mine are George Carlin and Steve
Mhm.
Martin. I've liked Steve Martin since I was probably 12, 13 when I first found out about him. So what are some of your favorite comedians?
Well, with comics that I'm like not like friends with, or like, comics who I don't work with.
Yeah.
Like my
famous.
first and on top is George Carlin.
Okay.
George Carlin to me is, there's George Carlin and then there's everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
George Carlin, and actually I remember my parents had a George Carlin record. I think it was FM Gold, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And I remember listening to that as a kid. I'm not going to tell you that, I know some of these comics, they're like, I knew I was going to be a comic when I was, in my father's testicles. I'm not I'm not saying that. And I'm not even saying I was, but I remember listening, me and my brother and sister listening to that album.
Mm-hmm.
And he's always been my favorite.
Yeah.
And then of course like there's Chris Rock, there's Rodney.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of the greats. But George Carlin to me is the best that's ever done it.
Yeah. My wife got me the box set a couple of years ago of the HBO specials.
Oh, okay.
I have to
12?
get back to watching this.
Got the 12, yeah.
But he was a genius. And I think he was
the
a
best.
comedian.
I got to meet him.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yep, I got to meet him in
Was
November
it
of 2002. Yeah. My friend, it was when we were first starting out doing comedy, and my friend got his email from somebody at MTV.
Mm-hmm.
And he emailed them and he told them that we were all big fans and blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah. And he invited us to a show at the Westbury Music Fair.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the Westbury Music, hall or whatever it was called.
Mm-hmm.
It was Comedy in the Round, where you like spin.
Mm-hmm.
And so his opener was this guy, Dennis Blair. So he does his opener, and then there's an intermission, and then Carlin comes out.
Yeah.
But we got to meet before his show. We got to go backstage, like 6 of us.
Yeah.
And he came and met us, and he was so cool. He hung with us for like 3-4 minutes. You know what I mean? He had a show to do, but it was definitely one of the cooler moments in my life. I got to meet George Carlin. I actually made him laugh, and it was just like amazing. It was amazing. And what a super cool man. And I just wish he was still alive today.
Yeah.
Just to, because he died in 2008. Like he never even got to see the Obama presidency.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like how great would have been for him to see the Obama presidency, the Trump presidency, all the madness that's going on now with everything. Like he would have been so much fun to know what he would have thought.
Yeah.
Would have been awesome. Rodney's one of my favorites. I love Rodney. Rodney is just, I love Rodney. Like, hey, I'm doing all right now, but last week I was in rough shape. I mean,
wow.
He was just the best.
Yeah.
He was the best. I love Rodney. Let me tell you something. If anybody who's listening, if anybody who likes Rodney Dangerfield, go find early Rodney Dangerfield stuff from like the 60s and early 70s. It's before he found that no respect type of thing. And he was definitely, he was more of almost like a Jewish comedian, like doing like the Borge Belt type of stuff.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
his stuff was a little bit more lengthy. He would do like little bits, and it's cool because it's like you're watching him develop into the comic that he became. Just like when we talk about the honeymooners,
I'll have to go back
the
and watch
lost episodes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it might not be as good, but you know what it turns into, and it's really cool. And even his early stuff was funny, man. I like his early stuff too. I like anything that Rodney does. Anything.
I remember he wrote a book, and he was going to be at this bookstore in Ridgewood. I don't know if you've heard of it. Bookends. They have a lot of famous people there.
Yeah, it's pretty well known place. Yep.
And I was so looking forward to going. He was doing a book signing, and it was right. I don't know if he canceled or it was during his. Yeah, I think he had brain surgery. He wasn't doing well, health wise, and then he passed away and never did the book signing. But
yeah, he died.
I can't say I regret not going because it was canceled, but I was really looking forward to meeting Rodney.
Yeah. I would have loved to met Rodney.
Yeah.
That would have been so cool.
So let's talk about some of your podcasts, fellow podcaster.
Yeah.
So of course, the way we met was through your honeymooners podcast, which is great. You do that with your co-host Louis Fatz. I think you're at the show 83 or 84. I'm not sure.
84. Yeah. It's crazy.
You started
crazy.
That,
I don't even know how we got to it.
When did you start that? I don't know when you started.
In June of 2019. If you ask me dates, dude, I'm an idiot savant with dates, so you don't have to double check. You can just say it, and I'll tell you what the dates are.
Okay. I was just wondering if you're going to run out of topics. I know that the honeymooners had a lot of great content. Unbelievable. Only 39 episodes, but so much going on in each episode.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if you're going to go into the lost episodes. There's, I think, 107 lost episodes. You got the color honeymooners, which were the 60s, and then the specials, of course, which were the 70s.
In the 70s, right? Yeah. I think eventually we're going to try to delve into it a little bit. We already talked about it. Like, maybe we'll do like a lost honeymooners a week or something, because not everybody knows the lost episodes like we know the original 39.
Yeah.
But right now we just keep coming up with more material,
keep finding
and it
stuff.
just keep coming, but we're doing different. We have like 7 or 8 different comedy bits now. It's taken on a life of its own, and I enjoy doing it so much. It's so much fun, and it's crazy. We had like you find out like a guy from some show called Ghost Hunters International. This guy named Scott Tepperman. He's a fan of the show. And some dude named some hip hop guy named Scribble, who's pretty well known in the hip hop in Los Angeles. He listens to this show.
Really?
It's like you're finding out like, oh my God, like people listen to this. And we have our regulars and the lunatics that listen. And they're faithful, and they love the show, and because they love the original show, just like we do, and I think most people say it, they're like, I feel when I listen to you guys that I'm talking to 2 of my other friends at a diner, about the show, and we're having laughs. Like me and you were sitting there BSing on the phone. We would just start talking about, like an episode like Pal of Mine, and just start talking about the scene and weird stuff. And now we have so many different types of bits we do, like ad lib or not to ad lib, or flub of the week, or jokes that should have got more laughs, and Louis' observations, and it's just so much fun. And
no, you and Louis go together very well. I have to say, the show is just so great to listen to. I mean, you listen and you get a smile on your face, Very fun show.
And it's clean.
Lighthearted.
And it's clean. We do a clean show, no cursing, obviously. And just to, because it's fun, because Louis never did anything like this before. So he just kind of, I just kind of took him along with me to say, listen, just sit in the passenger seat. I'll drive, and just you'll get the hang of it. And after about 20 episodes, he's like a star. He I let him shine because he's just funny and he's smart about the show, and we just have so much fun, and people love it. And you know what it is, man? So me and he's not good at promotion. He hardly knows how to work his cell phone. But there's so many people that love the Honeymooners itself, the show. It's a 65-year-old show, but you can talk to people in their 20s and 30s, and everybody either has a story of, I started watching with my grandpa, or my dad started showing me the show. And people, they find the show and they're like, this is absolute gold. Yeah. And so it's like, I think we can always find people who love the original Honeymooner show. Yeah. And that's why it's to me, it's always in the top 5 of greatest sitcoms of all time. Easily. It is. It should be in everybody's top 5.
I mean, the other one is I Love Lucy, but maybe there's an I Love Lucy podcast out there, but that's one of the earlier ones, but you're not going to find many people talking about, those early shows.
Yeah. I don't listen. Lucille Ball was tremendous. Show was ridiculous. I think it was 6 seasons. I think it was 51 to 57. So it was either 6 or 7 seasons, however they count it. And there are so many. Again, listen, if you took the best 39 episodes of any of the great sitcoms, think about how iconic these shows would be. Even more iconic now. Take I Love Lucy, the best 39 episodes, and make it that season. Yeah. And that's the show. You'd be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Take the top 39 episodes of Odd Couple, or All in the Family, or Cheers. I mean, there's for some people, Seinfeld. I was never I don't really know the show. I know it's great. It just wasn't a show that I ever watched. Yeah. But imagine you just took the best 39 episodes of Seinfeld. That's
what's amazing. The Honeymooners were only 39 episodes. They didn't have 6 years. Seinfeld was on for 9 years, to kind of, to hone everything, to get everything in sync. But to have one season, 1 year, to have such great writing. And I'm still amazed that it's a live show. That's what you got to tell yourself. Now, this was not edited. I mean, it might have been edited a little bit later on with
what they did was they filmed it live twice, and then they took a little piece of beat, and then they broadcast it, but they still filmed it live in front of an audience.
They didn't. I don't think they stopped and said, "Okay, do that line again." See, that's the thing.
No,
with the
that's
shows
the thing. It
now.
was a play.
If you pick apart, if you watch a TV show now and you see the camera on one person, and when it goes to the next person, that person might have said that line like 5 times. Who knows? Until when the camera switched to the next person, right?
Correct.
This was like totally one. I'm pretty sure it was one camera. I mean, it might have been.
It was either one or two. It might have been 2, but and that's the thing. And now the misconception with people is that it was live television, like it was live when it came on the air, and it wasn't. But still, what made it fantastic was it was filmed like a play, and that's why you get all these flubs. That's why we get it's not in the top hand, dress pan draw. You know what I mean? Like that's why we get that, because it was a play and it was filmed live. And
it's like real people would talk and mess up something, because a lot of these shows are so like they want to be perfect. I noticed that there's no mistakes with someone's, like I'm trying to speak
even a
now.
Stammer. Like even stammering like you're doing now, right? Exactly. I agree. Like a show that is like the Big Bang Theory, right? For a while, we were watching the Big Bang Theory. It's a smart show, right? Not just smart, but it's good writing. I just couldn't stop watching it anymore. I couldn't watch it anymore because the laugh track got me. It was aggravating.
Once you start concentrating on something.
Well, because it was over the top.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It wasn't real. Like, you know, it was like, you know, they knew, all right, you know what? We put the laugh track after this line, after this line, after this line. It's like, it didn't seem organic. You know what I mean? Like,
I like,
in fact, Cheers.
In like the 60s or maybe like the 70s, they'd always say filmed in front of a live studio audience. And you know you were getting,
which meant that they, you know, and you knew that you were getting
a natural reaction.
Right. Yeah, and they might have cut or stopped and then did something else, or like stopped it and then shot the next scene, but you got a real reaction. They even said in Cheers, in the beginning of every episode of Cheers, you see it says Cheers is filmed before a live studio audience. Every episode it says that. I found out, do you know why they did that? Because in the beginning, people were frustrated with the laughs. They thought it was a laugh track because the laugh so loud that it was almost making it hard to hear the show. And they were like, yeah, this is a real audience. I mean, that's how funny Cheers was. So they had to do that to say, hey, this isn't a laugh track. We're not blasting a laugh track out there. This is actually a real audience. And that's another thing because it has those blemishes. You know what I mean? It's got blemishes on it. It's little warts, but that's what it's just like, you know, somebody who's, you know, people that are married and they say, oh, we never fight. My wife's perfect. My husband's perfect. You're both full of shit. You know what I mean? What makes it great is that those little imperfections that the other person has, the little warts, that's what makes it great. That's what makes the Honeymooners so great, was that you get 39 gold episodes with warts and all, you know, and that's what makes it so great. I noticed that with I never watched Carson, right? I was in the 70s. I was a kid. In the 80s, when I started becoming a teenager, I would go out on a Saturday night or whatever. I was home sleeping. But I watch like reruns of, you know, the Tonight Show. Boy, was that show raw. Like, it was not a perfect show. Like, it was filled with blemishes and warts. I think that's what made it so acceptable, and people liked it because it felt real
to it.
Yeah. You know, it's like seeing a beautiful girl who's just dressed nice and she's not wearing a lot of makeup and she doesn't really she just looks really nice. And then you see a girl with plastic surgery and fake boobs, and you're like, yeah, you look great from 800 miles away. But, you know, and that's what makes it so great, these old shows.
So besides the Honeymooners, you also do the Conte and Kenny show. And
we haven't done it in almost a year because Kenny had gotten back surgery. So January, we haven't done a show since like January, and we might start doing it again. He's getting better, and
that's a good show too, and that's a little more edgy.
Well, it's, hey, listen, I tell people all the time, when we first started doing that show, you know, the podcast, whatever you call it, the term podcast hadn't been invented yet. We started that show in 2005.
Okay,
2005. It was internet radio. So we would just.
I know what you mean. You know, I started my Honeymooners trivia show in 2007. Yeah, and the term podcast.
So you know,
was not, no, and I actually started it on
about to get started,
and I actually started on MySpace. I would post trivia questions at first, and I'm like, maybe I should just do some audio, right? So I started recording audio and posting it on there, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna do a show. Like I can put it out whenever. And I started and it might have been, I forget what the website was. It wasn't like Podbean, or that's where this show originates from, but it was Podomatic, it was called.
Podomatic. That's where we first started.
And it was
first started recording it. We would put it on Podomatic, and that would be the one to go up, and then Apple came out with Podomatic. Absolutely.
Are there any shows that are coming up that you want to promote, or you have anything coming up?
New Year's Eve, doing a show in Newtown, Pennsylvania, with two other great comics, and there's 2 shows. Newtown is like right over there. It's almost on the border of New Jersey and Pennsylvania, like down by like past Flemington, you know. And it's a cute theater. Yeah, it's called the Newtown Theater, and we're doing 2 shows. One is a 6 o'clock show, and then the other one's a 10 o'clock show. One for people that, you know, if they want to, they're not looking to do the New Year's thing late, you know, they want to get a show in,
be out on the road,
out to dinner. Yeah. So if you're interested, it's if you think you go to jjcomedy.com, it's me, Hernandez, and Mark Riccadonna, and those 2 guys, they're phenomenal. Like, they're just great. What
are the names again?
Joe Fernandez. And Mark Riccadonna. And even if you look those guys up and check out some of their YouTubes, you if you're in the area, you want to come. It's going to be a lot of fun. I got some other stuff, but that's an easy one. You know, it's a great theater. It's established. It's a great show. So if you're in the area, definitely come down. It's going to be a blast. Plus it's New Year. So you say this takes a couple of weeks. So it's perfect. You know, it gives it just enough time. And maybe they'll want to come out and see the show.
Now, before we go, I want to talk. You have a comedy DVD called Happiness. I want to promote that.
Oh, thank you.
This is your description. It's loaded with self-deprecating barbs and the kinds of life experiences that only a chubby boy from New Jersey can have. That's your own description, huh?
Yeah. I don't even know I wrote that. I don't know. It might have been a friend of mine who wrote that.
Yeah. So you listeners can go to Joe Conte, and that's CONTE.com.
Yeah.
And I think you got some video on there, right?
Yeah, my YouTube channel, I got some videos. Joe Conte Comedian. My album, you can go to I think it's everywhere now. It's on iTunes, Amazon. If you have the special, you know, the free Amazon thing, you could probably get it for free.
Apple Music.
It's called Happiness. I made it in 2011. It's almost 10 years old. And it's not bad considering when I first made it, I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. But I listened to it, and it's actually pretty good.
So it was good talking to you, Joe.
Dude, it was a lot of fun, man. It was definitely a lot of fun. All right. I got a show. I got to be out in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. It's
wow.
So it's a 7:30 show.
Okay.
It's kind of early. So I'm going to get ready. And dude, it was great doing this, and it was good talking to you.
Yeah.
And
we'll talk again.
Hopefully, absolutely, bro.
Talk to you soon. Have a good show tonight.
Thanks, man.
Okay. See you.
Today's interview was recorded on Zoom and at Did You Say 7 Studios in Washington, New Jersey. Go to the YouTube channel for exclusive video content. Exit music by the band 99%. Today's show was produced and edited by Jim Thatcher. You can find Jim and Mike Talk Music on Apple Music, Spotify, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
You guys have 11 names, so I'm sorry, but I get it screwed up.